So welcome everybody. Officially just want to welcome the main guy, BULELANI JOLA. Welcome, Chief. How are you doing?
What's up? I'm all right, man. Feeling
Good.
blessed and good. Yeah.
It's good.
How you
It's
doing,
good.
my man?
I'm awesome, man. It's awesome. It's actually good to finally get you on board. Just so that everyone knows, is when I started this platform, I think I reached out to you first, and you kind of motivated me to get on with this. And you also told me that, Wade, this platform needs to be the voice and the truth for people in the sport, and especially for people who don't usually get the limelight or to get to voice their opinion. So I'm so happy that you supported me in this. I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks, and you put me in connection with some of the big boys in the game. I mean, I spoke to Quentin, I spoke to a couple of pros. So I mean, you someone who's pretty young, and you've gone quite far in the industry. How long you been in the sport, Jola?
I think it's 20 years now, eh? 20 years. 20 years in the game. 20 years training and competing, not just not just training, eh?
I mean, I was actually just thinking about it right now. You came along an era which was quite difficult for you, because when you came on the scene, you obviously had to start as a junior because you started very, very young. And in your time, you had, I think it was Louis Bessinger, you had Everett Hand, and you had some of those crazy looking guys from Cape Town. So when you went to nationals, it was one battle at provincial, and then nationals was another war. How did you manage all of that? Well, I mean, because looking at them at the magazines always intimidated me when I was a junior. What kept you motivated to keep going on with it? Because you had a tough lineup just at provincial level.
So basically, when I started training in the ghetto.
Right.
And the guy that ran the gym, his name was Zugile. His surname has just left my mind, but he called me the gifted champ because I used to have calves, and a lot of black guys didn't have calves.
And Indians. Don't just.
And I remember at the time he used to say I look like a Michael Ott, and at the time I didn't even know who Michael Ott was. And when I started competing, I remember my very first show, I got beaten by a guy from King Williamstown. And I had trained for a year, and like when I started, there were not a lot of shows. And the shows that we had, we kind of like valued because it was, it was all we had. So I competed on my very first show, and I placed second, and I felt like, the world has come to an end. And I actually went backstage and I cried, man. And Michael McLachlan and his wife came up to me and they said to me, listen, you've got a lot of potential, and this is just the beginning. And it's either one of two things. It's either you learn from this and you use it as fuel for next year, because that was the only show we had prepped for. And you come back next year better and stronger. And Michael McLachlan said to me, come see me on Monday. And I'll never forget that, when he extended that invite. And, coming from the township and going to a proper gym, if I can put it that way, and meeting a proper bodybuilder. Michael McLachlan was a 1999 overall world champion, South African champion, and
legend. Looks like we're losing Jola there.
Internationally, for many. I remember my first meeting I was taking a train, stay in Dansane. So Dansane is the second biggest township in South Africa, for those that don't know. And I used to take a train and had to get to town, and then from town have to take a taxi to Beacon Bay, and then take another taxi to the area where Michael McLachlan is. And I'd jump off and I'd have to run to Michael McLachlan's gym.
That's the famous, the castle.
Yes, the Active Attitude.
Active Attitude, yeah. Pretty hardcore gym with the pool right in the middle when you walk in, right?
Yes, cool, and all the rocks and the little waterfall set up. So I was 5 minutes late, and Michael said he won't see me because I was 5 minutes late. And that taught me punctuality,
Discipline.
you know, discipline. That first incident, you know, having spent so much money to get to where he was, and then also being 5 minutes late, and the help that he was going to give me was for free. And then he made me understand that he's giving up, he put clients aside so that he could see me. And he'd be giving up his time so that he can help me for free. And then I understood the value of knowledge that I was getting. But long story short, I ended up meeting him. We set a different day, and I met him, and I'll never forget that first experience with Mike. And then he told me that I need to find something within me that's going to be unique and not try and copy the other guys, because I'm not the biggest, you know, but I've got a beautiful physique.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole thing about my posing started creeping in. But my main thing was to be the hardest on stage, condition and symmetry. So I knew that.
On that note, Jola, I mean, you were coached by Michael, which is a bodybuilding legend, but at the same time, he had a lot of guys under his wing at the same time that you probably had to stand on stage with. Who was your rivals in the junior era that you came across, that you came along, was very, very tough. I mentioned some of their names, but who was the one guy that motivated you to push harder so that you could pass? You knew that it was your biggest threat in East London at provincials, because border was a historical event for bodybuilders in East London.
I'd be lying if I don't think. I think guys are noble when they say, no, my only competition is myself. I don't believe in that. As a competitor, you train to beat the guy that beats you, or you train for the guy you haven't seen, you know. Yeah. So at that time, the guy's Everett hand was under Michael McLaughlin's hand. Excuse the pun. So he was being trained by Michael McLaughlin. Louis Bessinger at that time was being trained by Eugene. The personal trainer Van Skykweg. And the funny story is that Eugene and Michael McLaughlin used to be rivals in bodybuilding when they used to. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like which master can produce. Yeah. It was like which master can produce the best student, and I was this black kid coming from the township, you know, trying to, you know, butt in between these two guys that they were main guys.
Yeah. And
I remember going head to head with Everett Hand. I think the year was 2009 at the NAC, because there was a federation called the NAC, which ended up being run by Michael McLaughlin. And NPC, sorry, is it NAC? I went head.
Advertised as the NAC. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. And I went, and it was very big in Europe. I went head to head with Everett Hand. And one thing with me, Wade, I kid you not, I was never afraid of bigger guys. I was always the guy that used to say the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So I wanted to beat good guys. I wanted to beat Everett. I wanted to beat Louis. And you know, bodybuilding is about resources and being able to rub shoulders with the right people that can help you with knowledge to best advance yourself in the sport, you know. And as much as I was getting help from McLaughlin, whom I got really into, who was also a body. Tanukolo Mbush, he's been by my side, and he actually introduced me into bodybuilding and told me, this is bodybuilding, this is what I do. And at the time he was introducing me to it, he was fading away and he was stopping. So I became the baton. He gave me the baton and he was pushing me into the right hands, you know. And I've always wanted to beat Everett and Louis. And when we started competing, the very first show Louis did was with me in King Williamstown. It was called the Buffalo City Challenge. I think you might remember that one.
Yeah.
No. It was the Energate. It was the Energate Classic.
Energy Classic. Yeah, Buffalo City was East London.
Yes.
Mid-year
The
show.
Energy Classic. It used to be called the Energy Classic. It used to be held in the City War Hall in King Williamstown. So that's when Louis and I first competed. And I remember I beat Louis. Louis placed third.
Wow.
And I placed second. And another guy actually won that show.
From King.
And we never saw that guy again. He was like one of those one-hit wonders.